Welcome back. Guess what? Maryland ranks 47th out of the 50 states in terms of personal income growth. Henry, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think Maryland's unemployment has really put too many eggs in one basket. What we've done is we've relied so much on the federal government jobs, which makes up a large percent of jobs within the state, and then we had the layoffs that occurred, so that impacted what the personal income was, and we've lost manufacturing because we have all these treaties with all these countries that allow someone who makes 5 cents an hour to do the job that we used to pay someone to make $25 an hour to do. So I think that's a double-edged sword.
Well, I think part of the issue here, too, is you have to understand what that statistic is. It's the sum of the net earnings of all people from all sources. This is not your individual personal income. This is the state's aggregate income. Includes the billionaires and everything. And, and so it reflects a certain amount of things, but in some ways it's not the same thing
But you're saying
as your average income, which...
Well, and the other thing that you
And
have to
we
realize...
still
that
are the 13th richest in personal income in the
we
United
are.
States. We
That's
are.
correct. And the reality is, the other thing we need to say about the statistic is that this is looking at a 5-year period.
2010,
2010 through 2015.
Yes.
But if you look at who is lower than us, we have Maine, Mississippi, South Dakota, and West Virginia.
Yeah. But again, I think there's
Yeah.
reason. Again, it's because of, you had during those 5 years, basically the sequestration is killing the government workers who rely on that. So they've capped things. It's what they've done in this county here.
Right.
They've capped
Right.
everything. Well, it does have consequences for employment, whether you like it or not. So I think Maryland hasn't done all that bad, all things considered, given what they've been up against, because it is a huge employer, and it's an
Right.
employer of wealthy people who have degrees. And a lot of these government people are not, the ones we have here in Washington happen to be
But isn't our income
college-educated people.
Isn't our income overall skewed heavily by the I-95 corridor, Montgomery County area,
Right.
where they're making a very comfortable 6 figures, and then the rest of the state is taking whatever they
Yeah.
decide to.
Well, there's reasons for that. Like
Yeah,
not having
I'd be very
broadband out
curious.
here because they don't want to
Yeah,
spend the money.
I'd be very curious to see what
very
that would look like if we just took out Montgomery County. I really do. I suspect we might drop down all the way to the bottom of the list.
Well, we're
You
talking
don't
about
think so?
we're talking about percentage of growth and not necessarily the
Right.
dollars and cents.
You got to go a long way to beat West Virginia, Mississippi, trust
True.
me.
That's
You
true.
really do. And this is only a snapshot. If you look at some of the ones who are actually doing the best of late in that 5-year period, in the last year or two, they're not doing too well. The ones that are right up at the top, because they're based on fossil fuels. It's like North Dakota, Texas, they're going in the tank.
But
In the last year or two, but they're still, in terms of that period, because they were making money hand over fist.
well, a few years ago, we had
Now they're not.
all the states surrounding us.
Right.
Okay, were on this list. Now, Pennsylvania managed to get themselves off of the, move up on the list. Virginia's moved up on the list. Delaware's moved up on the list. West Virginia is still south of Maryland. So what are we not doing right? Why is Pennsylvania and Virginia moving up? Because Virginia doesn't have a whole lot of fracking going on, if I recall. Okay, Pennsylvania
Yeah.
has some,
Yeah.
but,
Well, I think you'd have to look into that.
Pennsylvania
And it's a
is
much
30
bigger state. You have to
Pennsylvania
realize
is
that.
37th.
okay.
Virginia is 28th. So they're still in the bottom half, but you're
Yeah.
right, they've
Right.
moved up significantly.
Yeah, but they have a more diversified economy than Maryland might, simply because it's not as big a state. And when you have so many government jobs involved, whether it's Washington
Right.
area, even Baltimore, you're looking at a big chunk of your economy.
But we used
So
to be a
let me-
You cut
manufacturing
that off.
community.
We
Well,
did,
you-
and we
but
aren't
we're
as much
not,
anymore.
and there's
We're
other-
fortunate
yeah.
that we still have employers like Volvo,
Yeah.
who despite their layoff is now talking about bringing more production lines in.
Yes.
And, I mean, we're fortunate to have some of those types of
Right.
things. Pittsburgh Aeronautical Institute, Pittsburgh
Yeah.
Institute of Aeronautics. A lot of those other type things.
Yeah.
But, I look forward, and to your point, Tom,
Mm-hmm.
if the economy is driven by government jobs, and if
Not
both-
totally, but.
but
A lot of
Exactly.
Maryland's
there's a
economy.
Yeah.
Maryland
significant
Well, then also
percentage.
high-tech jobs in the corridor that's north
Right.
of There's quite a few high-tech jobs there that are not government jobs, but rely on government contractors.
But you look at the forts and,
That's
and
also
all
part
of
of
the
this.
things in Maryland
Yeah.
around government jobs and around military, and we know that the military is being scaled back. We know that both
not
of our
yeah.
presumptive nominees have said that they need to shrink government at some level. Now there's
Well, this
argument.
is the fallout, because a lot of what the government does through contractors who are not government employees.
Right.
They get hurt just as bad as the government employee
yeah.
does. So, you're talking about what you do there really matters. I don't know that Donald Trump understands that.
Well, and in federal contracting, there's a term, it's called lowest cost technically acceptable. And what that means is, I'm not going to go with the person that's going to be the best person for the job. I'm going to go with the lowest cost that beats the bare minimum requirements.
Yeah.
All right, and what often happens with that is, if that's like on a contract recompete, the new winner of the contract comes in and then offers everybody that was already on that contract an extremely lowball offer, sometimes often a 50% pay cut.
Right.
And now you've got significant shrinkage in the amount of
Personal
money that,
income in the pot
Yeah.
in Maryland. Simple. So, you mean, you can't blame it all. I mean, a lot of it's affected by the government, because a lot of the economy is, in fact, affected by it.
Well, I mean, I'm not blaming the government here for, the sequester, because that was decided upon by, several hundred individuals in DC. But
Yeah,
what I am talking about is the loss of quality jobs within our local community. I know
Right.
Volvo is still here, but we've lost Fairchild, we've lost Pangborn, and other
yeah.
But
manufacturers.
that was a long time ago.
It was, and
But
but
they haven't done much to.
well,
we
what
haven't-
can we
we
do to
haven't-
get those back?
Yeah.
And when we're trying to attract jobs, we're bringing in warehouse jobs versus
Walmarts.
production jobs.
Yeah.
Walmarts, okay. Thank
Which,
you for
that
shopping at
goes
Walmart.
nowhere.
We need to aspire for better and greater within not just Washington County, but within our state.
But you have
Right.
to make investments to do it. Business people know this, but some people in government don't seem to understand that.
Well, we've been
You
under.
need seed money.
We've been under, Maryland's been
If you
under
wanna get 'em to
Democratic
come.
leadership for so long. Maybe that's what the problem has been.
Well,
Well,
I don't
I
know.
think-
Locally, I don't think that you can blame it all on that.
Geographically, I think we have an issue in Maryland, which is part of why we don't
Yeah.
get jobs. But I would say from an investment perspective, and I'm going to be the first to admit that I've banged on some of the county commissioners, I've banged on other people in this community for lack of investment and go big or go home.
Yeah.
But you look at what we've done at HCC with the Technical Innovation Center, with the STEM,
Yep.
with all of those programs.
Small business incubator.
Yeah, you look at those programs. You look at USMH and some of the things that they're doing. You look at some of the investments we have made as a county. There's some good stories there. Very
I
good.
I absolutely have to agree with you, Jim. And unfortunately, we're out of time. But next up on the flip side, if you could pay off a debt early, would you? That's a question the Board of Education is considering right now. We'll be back in 3 minutes.